Going live. We're live. We're here with Shelly. Thank you so much for coming, Shelly.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. This is the live book launch for Different from the Other Kids, the Law and Disorder Edition, which is our third book. Please go on iTunes if you're looking at getting more of our information. We have over 60 podcasts on there now. People are tuning in from different spots in California, from as far as Tokyo. They're from all over the place, actually listening to podcasts. The reason I did the podcast was all about economics. I know parents in the situation that have kids that are challenged in this way do not have the resources. Many of them have had to give up their jobs. Many of them are having to do a lot of things that you may not actually expect that they're going to have to do in order to support and advocate for their children. So that's why the podcast came in. The book came in afterwards, and we are celebrating the third one.
Yay.
So I want to give you a little background on Shelly's contribution here. She's in the third book, and we're having a conversation about her son. So she is on chapter 5, and it's entitled Young Love. In this chapter of Different from the Other Kids, Law and Disorder Edition, Angela and Shelly sit down and have a conversation about Shelly's son. After a tough breakup and refusing to go to school, Shelly's son was eventually diagnosed with anxiety and depression. Shelly discusses how she got support from the school board. So this is an unusual situation. Much of the book is about where we're lacking in the system. This particular story is really nice to end with because Shelly was very, very fortunate and in the right school board, obviously, and had the right social worker.
Awesome.
And she herself is also a great advocate and was able to get some really great resources for him. So we'll go in. She goes into that in her chapters in this book. So let's go to the intro to the next chapter, which is chapter 6, and it's called Truancy. In this chapter of Different from the Other Kids, Law and Disorder Edition, Angela welcomes back Shelly. Shelly and Angela discuss the rest of the journey with Bruce, including the moment that Shelly knew that her son was back on track. Shelly also discusses some possible avenues for assistance within the youth justice system. So I'm very happy to have Shelly here because we actually can end this on a positive note. Not all our stories can be positive, unfortunately. We work through them as best we can as parents. It is what it is, as they say.
That's right.
It is right.
It's ongoing.
It's
what it is.
It's ongoing. It is.
It never ends.
It's like the song that never ends, you know, little puppet
It's a
trick.
song that never.
That's right. And that's a happy one too.
That's right.
Okay, so let's give me a little update on how Bruce is doing now.
Well, he is doing okay. He is almost caught up with all of his credits.
Great.
Considering the fact that he totally almost skipped grade 10.
Mm-hmm.
So there had to be summer school, night school, like a continuous.
And he's been participating himself, which is huge for a kid that age, to get behind the 8 ball like that. In many cases, they just go, okay, forget it. That takes a lot of, that's courage, really, to go back in and do that.
And it's taking things moment by moment, not trying to move ahead too quickly. Just if he's having a bad day, you kind of have to go with it.
Mm-hmm. So you're just letting him have his bad day. I'm just
letting him have his bad days, and I'm letting him pace himself, because what we found is that if he takes on too much, then the anxiety sets in again, and then we kind of backtrack.
Right.
So we kind of pace ourselves. In between that, I try to get him to do things like, for instance, he goes to a youth program on Friday, and that social aspect of being a teenager, they really need that. They need that interaction with other peers. Also, too, he does some of his 40 hours. Oh yeah, he does it at a youth program in Brampton as well. So, and then he's learning to drive. So this is one. It is big. And this is one thing where I kind of get to reward and take away kind of thing. So if he had a really good month, then I'll say, okay, you get extra lessons, or, you know, if it's not so great, then I kind of pull back.
Right.
So he wants to drive, so it's kind of like a motivational factor.
That's great. Now, you had said that he's also looking for a job. So
yes,
he's maturing in a bunch of different ways here.
Yes.
And
he likes nice stuff.
Okay.
He wants a job.
Fantastic. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So he's looking for a job now,
Yeah.
and how is his truant situation?
The truant situation, I would say.
We're calling it
the truant situation.
Truancy.
The truancy situation. So I would say we're about 80% back on track.
Good.
There are still days. This morning,
Was one of them?
he couldn't get up to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, do you have exams? What is going on? Are you feeling okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. I'm just tired. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have to also learn how to not have like deep-seated emotions about it.
I know.
Because I have to get to work.
That's what you feel like doing?
I have to get to work. And I
hard.
have to pay the bills.
It's
So
hard.
it's okay.
I know.
Nobody died. I'm going.
Nobody died. Everybody's okay. Everyone will be safe. You're fine. Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned that your son was, you mentioned volunteerism. Under what the confines of what were we talking about? Yeah. For years.
yes. Well,
I
that
know.
whole...
So Shelly has gone to start volunteering somewhere. But before we get to that, because I want to ask her about that, I wanted to ask you, why do you think, what brought you into different from the other kids? When I asked you to be interviewed, we were talking about your son, and when I asked you if you would be part of the interview process, you immediately said yes, and that you were very enthusiastic. So how come?
I have two reasons.
Okay.
And one of them is Christina.
Mm.
And I might get a little emotional about
That's
that. It was at your old house, and I was in the kitchen. Angie, I worked with Angie for
Yes.
years.
Yes.
I've known her for almost 8 years.
Yes.
And I was in the kitchen, and it was around the time that she was really struggling.
Mm-hmm. 8 years ago?
No, it was
8?
about 4 years ago.
4
or
years,
5.
yeah.
She was under a
That
lot
would
of.
do it.
She was taking a lot of medication, and she came into the kitchen one day, and I looked at her, and she was like not there. The Chrissy I know was not there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, and she just came in to get some water, and I looked at her, and she was heavily medicated at the time. And I thought, oh God, like it was really hard for me to see, knowing everything she was going through at the time. And then I had to have a little moment in the bathroom.
Did you?
Not kidding you, a little while after that is when Brandon started having trouble. And I look at you, and how you were able to function during that time. Having other children, having to deal with running a home, having to have your mom was alive at the time, and you know, having to make sure your mom was okay. And life goes on, even though you have, your kids are going through, and I'm thinking, how in God's name is she doing it?
We do.
And I
we
thought,
do.
you know what?
You have to. I take my hat
You
off to you.
have
You're
to do
completely
it.
on your own. You got 2 young
You
boys.
have to do it. It's just,
Yep.
whatever, you have to dig deep.
Yeah. Yes.
You gotta dig deep.
Yeah, you do.
And then it, you know, just watching.
And it's not
you
always
do
pretty.
all
It's
it.
not at
No,
all always pretty. You've
there's
seen
no
that part
pr-
too.
There's no. Yes,
seen
the
that
blood,
part.
sweat, and tears.
But yeah, I think I'd
It's
finished.
not-
I'd
it's
finished my
not
meltdowns by then.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much. Well, that's not true. There I always have meltdowns
Well,
still,
the
but
meltdown is ongoing.
that's regular. I should correct myself right there. But no, it's yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
So
you
that
gotta
was-
get back on that horse. Is what I
Exactly.
say.
So you were happy to contribute, knowing
Yes.
that what we were trying to.
That I
accomplish and
knew
bring
exactly
forward.
what you were trying to accomplish.
Well, you were
And,
around for
you
so
know,
much of the development of
that's
stuff
right.
too, right? Yeah.
That's right. And we may not have the same circumstances, but as parents,
Yes.
you get to absorb some of the pain, and you get to see the struggles.
Mhm.
So, you know, in that way, there's a certain level of compassion, because we're all kind of, we basically all want the same thing for our family.
We're in it together.
We're in it together.
We're in it together, that's
Yes.
absolutely for sure. Shelly, just tell me a little bit, if you don't mind. One of the things that Shelly has embarked upon recently that I was very excited for her for was to become a volunteer in the region of Peel.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
So because of that whole situation with my son, somehow invoked in me something to want to give back or to pursue a different avenue in my life for helping children. And I didn't want to just work in a school with kids that, I don't like to say regular kids. Every kids have issues, but of course we know some have more than others. So I wanted to work with kids that are having a lot of challenges, and preferably kids with disabilities, whether it's physical or mental disabilities. So I decided to go back to school, and I'm now enrolled in the Humber part-time developmental service worker. So I'm trying to get into the avenue of social
Shelly.
work.
Way to go.
And I also volunteer with the region of Peel. I'm done my spring, Angela, help me. And I'm done this semester of volunteer work with the region of Peel, but they've asked me back to do the fall program. However, I also want to work with Carrie's Place, which is a program. They have them in Peel, and I think they have them in North York. And it's specifically designed for kids with autism, Down syndrome. So I'm looking to volunteer in that capacity.
Amazing. Congratulations and thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. We have one more segment after this. We're just going to give it a wrap up afterwards. Thank you so much to Shelly very much for coming.
Thank you for
I really
having
appreciate
me.
it, and thank you for your contribution to the book as always.
I'm so excited for this.
Oh, thank you.
But this is the end of this is the third book.
This is the third book. It's the last book, but it's not the end.
Wow. No, not by any means.
From the other
no, just the third book.
But the book we're going to cut off the book portion at this point. So thanks so much for coming, guys. I should do that. And we'll see you in the next probably 20 minutes or so. Thanks.